Hello class, so in this demonstration, we will go over some of the material that will help you to to complete the lab 4 and the assignment 4. The basic concepts that we are exploring in this module is how to process two-dimensional arrays, right? By now you have a good understanding of how a one-dimensional array works. And you probably in your 360 class have also in your 301 class have done a little bit about 2D arrays. But I just wanted to show you here an example in a data file. These 4 lines, they constitute your 2D array. So this is row 1, this is row 2, this is row 3, this is row 4, and also it has columns 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can think of 2D arrays as kind of Excel spreadsheets, which have row numbers and column numbers. And they also in math, they are represented by a matrix. So the way to access elements of a 2D array are to go to the row number and the column number. And where you find the intersection of the row and the column is where that particular element is. For example, I'm just going to use this to write and say, if the row is equal to 2 and the column is equal to 1, then know that because of the way the array index works, array always goes from 0 to n-1, whether it is a 1D array or a 2D array. So this is going to go from 0 to 3 and 0 to 3. So when I say row is equal to 2, when you access the array, it's going to go 0, 1, 2. It's going to come here. Column is equal to 1. This is the 0th column. This is the first column. And this element is what it's going to return. So the item at row is the number 2, right? Now, the item at row equal to 0 and column equal to 0 is the letter A, because this is at 0 and 0, right? The number for us as human beings of the row and column is this. We think of it as the first row, second row, third row, fourth row, and so on. But as you know, the way the array index goes, it's always one short of that number, and it's going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is one thing that I'd like us to keep in mind before we start doing before we go any further. So what this video is meant to go over is for us to be able to read a 2D file from an 2D array from a file, to then to be able to scan this 2D array and then to display the 2D array. So let's go to our main program. So what our main program does is here's where it creates the data structure. So it's creating a 2D array of a certain size. Now, as you know by now that whenever we use uppercase letters, it stands for a constant. So we declare constants in our header file. All of that declaration has been done in the header file, right? And we will go over that in a minute. But this is the main algorithm, right? Or the sequence of steps that we are taking to solve this problem of opening a file, creating a data structure, 2D data structure, reading from the file into the data structure, and then displaying it onto the output. So I'm creating a 2D array. I'm also giving a file name. So as you can see, I've got a file called data.txt in which that matrix was stored. And here is how we would like to write our main program. Our main program primarily needs to consist of method calls. So what we've done here is we've created a file name and we've created a file variable, right? As you know, we will connect this file variable to this file so that we can start taking data, right, from this file and into our program, right? So this is my method to try to open the file, right? I pass the file name and I pass the file variable, and this procedure will try to open the file and return true if it was able to open the file. Otherwise, it's going to display an error. If you're able to open the file, then fill the array, which is the two-dimensional array, and fill the array from where? Fill the array from the file. Here you've already made the connection between file name and in file. So all you need to do is pass the file variable here and pass the container into which it's going to store the information and then display, right? So otherwise, I have a method called a function called display error and display that you were not able to open the file. So now let's go and investigate the header file here. The header file that we are using is, here's my header file. Here's where I am going to put all my declarations. Note that the include IO stream, include F stream, include string, and include from the whatever standard namespace, whatever specific objects that I am looking for, I have included them all here. I do not need to do them one more time in the main program. I just need to include my demo file and I'm done, right? So I tuck away all of these things here and I've got all the method headers here. Now let's go to the function where I do the implementation. I would like to point out that here I'm including, I should have done this in the header, but I just want to point out to you that I'm including a library, the C++ library that will help me take care of a particular error that was occurring when you were using makefiles on the server. I know that when we use makefiles on the server and then we try to open a file, it gives a funny error, right? So in order to avoid that error, what I would like you to just copy paste and use this boilerplate code whenever you need to open files. In fact, you're very welcome to go ahead and use this open file method wherever you need to open a file, right? So here's the file name, data.txt. I get the length of that. And all I'm doing here is I'm converting that string into a character array. This is how some C++ implementations want it. Not everything. Maybe Visual Studio is fine, but on the server, this may give it a problem. So I'm copying that string into the character array, and then I do infile.open. This is the exact same file name data.txt, but now it's stored in a character array, right? So you can just use this boilerplate code and not worry about exactly what's going on, and we can leave that investigation for later. Here is where I check and see if the file if you're able to open the file or not. If you're able to open the file, then return true, otherwise return false. This is what my open file is doing. It returns true if it was able to open the file, otherwise it returns false. I'm going to delete this code because it can be a little distracting here. And now here's where I fill the array. Once I'm able to open the file, then I pass the file variable, right? And I also pass the two-dimensional array. What I'm doing here is I'm traversing the row by row. This is a nested for loop, which means the top part of the loop goes from row wise. So for example, if I go back here, this is row 0, row 1, row 2, and row 3. So the outer for loop goes 0, 1, 2, 3. But at each outer loop, you also go inside an inner for loop and go through the columns. So the way we are traversing this matrix is start here, extract all of this information, start at row 0 and column 0, row 1, row 0, column 0, row 0, column 1, row 0, column 2, row 0, column 3, and then go to row 1, column 0, row 1, column 1, row 1, column 2, row 1, column 3, and then go to row 2, column 0, right? So that's what the nested loop is doing here. It's traversing, it's allowing you to traverse this in the way that we just talked about, and read from the file that each character into the data container, right? Into the two-dimensional array. The display method does the exact same thing, traverses it, but now it's not taking from the file, but it's taking from the array and displaying onto the screen. And what I'm trying to do is make the output look a little pretty by putting that space here so that it will print it, right? And here's the display method. So let's run this program. As you can see, this is my input data file. Let's run this program and make sure that it works. So there you see. So this program actually works. And I'm just confirming that this program also works on this. Oh, I've got a network connection error. Okay, so this program works.